The first time I ever stippled, and it was a Glock 19, and was in my parents' garage. And I stippled it, and I felt it, and I was like, man, like this is like a world of difference. And it was a crappy job. Don't get me wrong, it was terrible. I could notice the difference in shooting. Even grabbing from holster and appendix, it's vital in how fast you are of getting the gun out in a self-defense situation. Hey guys, Dane Daniels, 2A Stippling here in Nashville, Tennessee. Started 2A Stippling probably about 4 or 5 years ago, just tinkering around in my garage. It really full launch was 2021 January. That was this year, was really kind of the full launch here. And from Cerakoting to stippling to RMR cuts, trigger jobs, anything you can think of pistol-wise, that's really what we focus on. You know, the Second Amendment, I think, can be misinterpreted oftentimes. I think that when it says shall not be infringed is exactly what it means. And really any gun law is an infringement upon our rights. Firearms has always been a passion of mine, you know, along with the Second Amendment, very important to me. And for me, I was just ready to be my own creative, design my own things and create my own things and work with my hands as I believe we're designed to do. You know, at our core, we follow Christ. So guns are not more important than my faith. But there's a lot about our faith and a lot about what God calls us to do to defend the weak and protect our families that align with the Second Amendment. When I see a Glock, I see a block of wood, right? I'm a carpenter and I see that block and I'm like, I'm gonna create something out of what's already there. And you know, Glock itself, everyone would say, you know, Glock perfection. On the stippling service side of things, it can get pretty detailed because as I looked around in the community and looked around at other services that do this, it was like package deals, right? It was just like, you select this, is what you get. Like you select this, is what you get. And there was like maybe 4 or 5 options. And I was like, man, I could take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, and really kind of make it where people can build it out and say, hey, I like the gravel. You know, the gravel is more of an EDC texture, but I want it to be real aggressive. I'm a USPSA shooter, or you know, I'm a comp guy or something, and I'm like, okay, I can do that. Kevlar is another one that I have. That's like one of the originals for me. It was really, really cool, and it's aesthetically pleasing, obviously, but it serves a really good purpose of being sticky, but not going to grab onto your shirts when you're carrying and things like that. You know, there's other styles out there. I mean, basket weave is another one that's pretty popular that people like. For me, you know, personally, I don't stipple underneath my dovetails at all so that I don't hurt that webbing on my hand, you know, over and over and over again. So for a shooter's cut, I actually drop the border underneath the dovetail, so where there's not any stippling there, still, you know, still aesthetically pleasing, but not something that's like that's going to cut you over time as you shoot. Things like undercuts. So there's a couple different styles. There's just a single undercut, and it's going to get you more underneath the trigger guard. So when a single undercut, I recommend for almost all firearms. Then the double is for that support hand, right? So when you come together and you go to shoot, personally, I ride high. I don't grip the trigger guard, but I ride pretty high where my support hand, it comes up underneath that double undercut. There's different styles of thumb support. You know, there's one called an ergo thumb that I kind of accidentally fell upon, where you actually can kind of round it off in the natural shape of your thumb on the support side. So when I go to fire, it's naturally sitting in that ledge. There's also the true just accelerator cut, where it's just a flat line. Then there's like the EDC model, where it's like almost like a button, like a press button, where your finger can go inside of it. My business partner is a true milling artist. Like, he's a milling specialist. Right now, as it stands, we do RMRs, hollow suns for just Glock slides. And we can do things as small as a 43. We really want to get into things like Loophole, Delta Point Pros, and Vortex, and other options for people. And for other firearms too, things like SIG and CZ and Smith & Wesson. You know, as far as kind of that two-tone look, I kind of accidentally discovered the process. I went to cut with with that diamond burr to start creating the borders. I was like, oh snap, that's a different color. The minute I start to cut for borders or burn or sand, you're gonna go back to OEM. It's not just aesthetic. Well, don't get things stippled or whatever, and Cerakote's obviously, you know, aesthetic, and it protects the gun, sure. But the stippling itself is, in my opinion, on polymer frames, they need it. You feel like you love your pistol, but you might be able to shoot better with it if few things were done. You know, do you have smaller hands? Do you want to be able to use a full-size pistol, but your hands are small? Are your hands huge and you need a better choice or option to adjust your favorite pistol? We can do that for you. If you're in Nashville, I'd love to work with you. I'm super low-key. I'm not I'm not an ego guy. Like I'm gonna meet you where you are. So I think that's another aspect of what we can offer for the Second Amendment community.